everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Mayor Tyler Moore Show here on the Kokomo Post. My name is Drew. This is MTM. Mr. Mayor, how are you?
I'm great. Great. Coming off a busy weekend. Did some fall cleanup on the old homestead. Got the garden torn down and tilled up, and
you
cut
garden?
some other things down. My wife does. I'm just her garden boy.
Okay. What did she grow? What do you guys grow over there?
Wide mix of things. So we did regular tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, cucumbers, cantaloupe. Green peppers. She threw a little mint on the edges.
Mint goes crazy, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a little bit of mint.
She's talking about putting in like little lattices or something next year so the cucumbers grow up instead of everywhere to get them off the ground.
Do you make any like homemade pickles with those cucumbers?
We have not made any.
That'd be interesting.
Nope.
I like pickles, so that was why I asked that question. I guess.
Throw them in salads or just pop them like candy.
Yeah.
So
we had an interesting weekend. We went to the Valley of Grace Dressy but Messy event.
I saw the post.
That was interesting.
That was a good time.
That was the first one I had gone to. I feel like we're always out of town, and I love those people over at Valley of Grace. Actually, so the founders, Joey and Darcy. Darcy was actually like my babysitter growing up. So I always joke with her every time I see her and her sister Tracy, which Tracy was there too. I hadn't seen her in a long time. It was good to see her. Every time I see them, I like joke. I'm like, there's a really good chance like you literally changed my diapers back in the day. Like, because there's always that joke
in town like that too.
Yeah. I mean, like Darcy was one of my first out in Green Acres. Darcy was one of my first babysitters. So it's great to see what they're doing for that organization.
That it is. And I think they've got an open house for the public in a couple weeks.
That's true. And like they're hoping, they announced at the event, they think they're going to be open and running by February.
Awesome.
So that's
great.
Awesome. That's been a long time coming, and they've been
an amazing asset to the community and such a need to complement all the other efforts that have been going on with Turning Point and a lot of the others. So kudos to Joe and Darcy for where they've been and how they've come, and now they're following or answering God's call to make things happen for others.
Did you see how much money they raised?
I did not. What's the
$116,000 in one night of fundraising?
I mean, that seems to be you said this was the third Dressy but Messy or fourth?
This fourth one.
Yeah, and I think each time they've topped 100,000.
So it's nuts.
By nights in. So
they did. There was some music, and then they showed like before the music where they were at. They were like at $86,000.
Okay.
And then by the end of that music playing, people were donating on their phones. They hit $116,000 in one night. So that's awesome.
Kudos to the community.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So we went to that, which I'll say, great event. Great. They raised all that money. That it was weird to me. And if you guys don't know about the event,
do you not like to eat with your hands?
I learned. Well, I mean, it depends what I'm eating.
But
like. So the whole premise of the event is called Dressy but Messy, and it's a kind of like a pun or a play on words where addiction, which is obviously what Valley of Grace is like, that's their cause, is helping people with addictions. They say addiction is oftentimes we dress ourselves up, but really what's on the inside is a messy it's a messy thing going on with addiction. So that's the play on words. But at the event, they literally don't have silverware.
Right.
They don't have napkins, and they give you an apron, and that's it. So they
dress up a little bit.
You dress up a little bit, yeah. But I mean, they had steak, they had pork, maybe chicken, but then they had like barbecue ribs. Yeah. Of course they did, and you're just literally eating them with your hands. And they had like some sides too. They had like glazed carrots, which are not easy to eat without like a fork, and they actually had Cook McDougal's McDougal balls were there as a side, covered in the white cheddar sauce that they have there. So I mean, it was interesting. I enjoyed the night. It was good to see everybody. It's awesome they raised that much money, but I'm like, I learned that's not for me, is eating with my hands like that. It was interesting. So tell me, what's going on at City Hall this week?
What's going on in City Hall this week? We are still knocking out as much asphalt repaving as we can. Now we're keeping on top of a particular utility company to try and get some renovation or restoration with what they had started there along Washington and on the northwest quadrant of town. So once again, folks, thank you for your patience. Let us know if there's issues or if things are falling behind in the restoration.
Which actually, I will get in trouble as the son to my mom. There was a part of the road on Phillip Street, and I'm sure you've heard about it because she popped a tire, basically. Okay. And there was nothing. This was weeks ago, and nothing was marked, and people had no idea how bad it was. And I was there changing her tire, and I swore I heard 2 other tires pop when we were sitting there. So careful. Even though if some things aren't marked, that doesn't mean they're good to go. But hopefully that stuff's done soon. Before
and obviously
winter.
The weather hasn't really cooperated enough to allow more leaves to fall, but the guys are out starting their pass through town, so they may get through the areas a little quicker. Yeah, we had fun with the video.
I think you're the only mayor in Kokomo history that like puts out SNL type, skit content out into the world. You and Mike, that's what people like. You and Mike have a good time with that.
We do. Yeah. Mike Dukes is an incredible guy, and Tom Tolan's a good sport.
Yes, because he got tackled. If you haven't seen that video, go to the city's Facebook page.
Yep, tells you what to include, what not to include, what to do, and what not to do to help the crews and the equipment and get through everything as the leaves continue to fall.
And specifically, don't put trash, specifically a lamp, with the leaves. That was a no-no, and apparently a city employee will tackle you if you do that. That's what I learned from that video.
That's the main takeaway.
Yeah. Good form, by the way. No targeting was a great tackle. So one of the big debates, I guess, in our world right now, which falls into Kokomo, is Christmas is coming.
Christmas is coming.
We're supposed to have a great week of weather this week, but I mean, it's definitely cooler. We're in the 50s for the high, like that type of thing. And I wanted to know, because it was a big debate in the office. It's a big debate, in my family. Everybody is talking about it. Where do you stand when it comes to decorating for Christmas before the Thanksgiving holiday?
You should probably ask my wife and my kids this, because I am very adamantly against doing anything Christmassy until Thanksgiving weekend.
Okay.
Now we'll sit down Wednesday, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and occasionally throw Christmas Vacation in just to kind of kick off either that or even White Christmas. But yeah, I get uneasy trying to.
It's a hot debate. People talk about this. It's interesting.
I know. And Hallmark doesn't help showing Christmas movies since
there's not a lot of Hallmark Thanksgiving movies.
Right.
So,
I don't think I've seen any Hallmark Thanksgiving. They may throw something just to lead into the Christmas part of the movie. But I am going to go against my usual norm and assist Z92.5 this Friday out at Old Mercantile to kick off their holiday music season.
Which even they get a bunch of crap for.
Yep. But I mean, I've already seen 2 or 3 houses with Christmas inflatables in the front yard.
Love that.
And some people have trees up. I mean, maybe they do it on purpose so they can post and say, all right, Christmas haters, comment below. And
they're just asking for it. See, I'm on the opposite. I'm ready for Christmas.
Sure.
I think I've probably said it on the show. I've been weirdly ready for Christmas for a while now.
I don't know why. 2 or 3 episodes ago.
Yeah, I don't. It's even like this summer. I feel like I'm ready for Christmas for some weird reason. My kids are at an age where I think they're really fun for Christmas. Like they're really into it.
I miss that.
But I also feel like we're getting to that age where maybe they won't be as fun in the future. If I don't want to spoiler alert or anything, but so I'm really excited for this year.
Well, it's because you're still a kid at heart. There's nothing wrong with getting excited knowing that Christmas is on its way.
I'm fresh off Disney. I've still got magic. Yeah. I will continue to talk about Disney for forever.
But didn't they have the whole spooktacular thing going?
A little bit.
It was more Halloweenish than
actually,
Christmas.
it wasn't very Halloweenish because the 50th anniversary that's going on, that kind of overtook the Halloween stuff. There was definitely Halloween things. I'm so excited for Christmas, but I also, and I hope my mom doesn't watch this and get mad or anything like that. I'm not a big Thanksgiving person. Is that bad?
No, I mean,
if you look at it, the things I've learned about
a flag was thrown on the plane.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I get it. It's a bunch of food. I get it. It's family or football, but I'm not an NFL guy, so like I don't really care about the football that goes on Thanksgiving.
We don't either. It's just playing in the background.
Yeah,
in our house,
and then I don't know. It's not for me. I'm so much more of a Christmas guy.
But
so
Thanksgiving
to me,
is the kickoff for Christmas. You should embrace Thanksgiving and give thanks for the fact that Christmas is the next major holiday.
Okay, but maybe that's it. It's supposed to be this holiday of being thankful and things like that. But the majority of people, like we do with a lot of holidays, honestly, nobody, come on.
Well,
nobody's genuinely sitting down like counting all the things they're thankful for that day.
And that's probably one of the, in my opinion anyway, one of the good things that came out of the pandemic was last year, people got to, those that did get together for Thanksgiving didn't sit down with their Black Friday ads and map out where they were going to be overnight, because a lot of the stores weren't open. It was
all online
because of COVID and everything. So, I mean, in that respect, I agree with you that sometimes Thanksgiving gets lost because all of a sudden they're doing the Black Friday sales on Wednesday, and then Thursday morning of Thanksgiving, when you should be getting up and getting ready for the day, and everybody's running to get the hottest deals on on Thanksgiving morning before. I mean, so
I don't know. I suppose so. I don't know. I'm kind of over Thanksgiving. I'm very excited for Christmas. We bought some decorations this weekend for Christmas. You better believe there are Christmas pillows on our couch right now. There will be a tree up this weekend in our home. I'm all about it. Let's get it put up. And I don't know, I'm getting to the age too where I really want to decorate a lot. And I want my kids to grow up in that house they remember was awesome for Christmas. So I'm team Christmas right after Halloween. I think we're putting something on the team calendar. We're decorating tomorrow for Christmas in the office, which, get over it. It's going to happen. So we have a pretty big tree.
So you're not afraid that you might get tired of the Christmas thing by the time you get to Christmas?
Who gets tired of Christmas?
I don't know.
It's the best
just a question.
thing ever. I'm ready to watch Christmas movies. I'm ready for the whole thing.
You're on. Let's do it.
Show me a Thanksgiving movie. You can't. Exactly.
Well, so, I did the one that I had you do last week, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
But it's more of just a holiday in general. I don't know. So that's fine. Next, moving on. I'm team Christmas. Your team bad. Not Christmas. The mayor hates Christmas is basically
team
what I'm
Scrooge.
hearing now. Team Scrooge. Next thing I want to talk about, there was some news that came out last week about the ARP funds. We've had $19 million for the city of Kokomo. They're starting to say, what certain things are being spent on. $3 million out of the $19 million was going to the conference center downtown.
Still working on that, getting closer to that.
An important note on that too, and this was in the article. I forget who was quoted in the article, but they want to make sure people know that $3 million is not going to the hotel side. That $3 million is 100% going to the conference center side.
Yeah, President Greeku had interrupted me and said, "Hey, just for clarification,
because that's important clarification."
Right. I mean, it's the project has been built as the hotel conference center, and they got this developer, and so that was some of the criticism. It's okay, why city, county, and the CVB or the alliance by way of the CVB is giving money towards a project by a private investor, but it's actually two separate projects, the conference center and the hotel joined by offices and a walkway, lobby area and such. And so our focus is on the conference side of that. The incentives that will be made available to the developer are the same incentives that anyone that wishes to invest and develop in the city can apply for. Tax abatements, even when we talked earlier about development agreements and such. There's opportunities to work with them, and even assistance from the state as well in the form of credits that they can apply for. So we're working with them there, but it's the means to an end. But our emphasis or our involvement with that is with the conference center, because ultimately the CVB or the Convention Visitors Bureau, which is the part of the alliance, will be the owner of the conference center and the developer owner of the hotel. Got it.
All that to be said, no city money is going towards the private investment, which is the hotel side. $5 million of
Directly, yeah. I mean,
directly.
You look, like I said, tax abatements and such. I mean, that would have been, tax incentives for that. So, I mean,
sure,
it just depends on who you ask.
$5 million to water and waste at the new industrial park, which I guess what will become the new industrial park. $700,000 to Ivy Tech for the 4.0 training lab.
Training lab, yep. Industry
$281,000 for new lighting for Jackson Morrow Park. Correct. Okay, so that leaves about $7 million left. I have $1.25 million for raise for the mayor of Kokomo. I have a what?
No. Little disclaimer down at the bottom. That was not.
It's a joke. It's a joke. Sorry. It was $1.8 million for here. No, I'm kidding. So there's $7 million rough. I'm guessing that the paper doesn't have like the exact number left on the bill, but around $7 million left. That is, we don't know yet exactly what that's going for.
Yeah, because some of it, I mean, we've got we're waiting on certain numbers because we talked water and infrastructure. I mean, we're looking at other unserved areas, in the community, as well as out to one of the interchanges along 31, where there's proposed development as well. And so once those numbers come in and we can assign a specific or more specific dollar amount to that, we will. Same way with as we approach the holidays, with if there's still, now that businesses are open, but they're having a hard time with people. If they're struggling with staying open, there may be a Kokomo Stronger 2.0 program, for small businesses. We're also still in communication with the landlords that have their facilities they want to upgrade. So we're talking about the possibility of programs that way. So. A lot of things we're still tossing around, meeting with council members, bi-weekly as well to discuss those. But we'll continue to update as things become available.
Sounds good. You want to get into the Ask the Mayor segment?
Sure.
All right, so let's get into the Ask the Mayor segment. This is a segment partnered with Lexi's Drink Barn here in Kokomo. If you're from Kokomo, you know how much this town loves their fountain cokes and their iced teas and their snacks. And Lexi's is the place to go in Kokomo for all of those things. I don't know how they do it, but their Coke mix, I have a 44 ouncer on my desk right now. It's a Coke Zero with vanilla. That's my go-to order at Lexi's. We love it, but I think it's the good ice too. That's kind of like about when you get a Lexi's Coke, you drink it, that's snack number one, and then you get to eat the ice, and that's snack number two. So really, every drink from Lexi's is a 2-for-1. So that's really good to see. I love that.
By the time the episode airs, it's going to be just as beautiful a day as it is today. And if you're out and about, it's a perfect day for a Coke.
Love that. So swing by Lexi's. Tell them the Kokomo Post sent you. Let's get into the first question. This one's from Samantha on Facebook. Is it possible to add those flashing lights to all stopping lights when emergency personnel is approaching?
The flashing lights as in the Hawk system down by IUK?
I'm not sure.
That one?
One on 31, where if an ambulance is close, I think I've seen them like, 931. There's a flashing white light, and that can tell you when like an ambulance is close by. So I'm guessing it is possible. It just takes, but also might be an NDOT thing if that's on 931.
Yeah, if they're all along 931, I know we partner with NDOT on those, so that could be something we could look into for those lights along 931. But I'm trying to think if I don't think we have any on any of the intersection lights anywhere else. But I mean, definitely, so we're always looking for ways to improve safety and do so cost effectively. So yeah, that's definitely something I can ask engineering, because I know we've talked about some of the flashing stop signs. I know they're at Webster. And Webster and Markland, when they took that light out, there were the flashing red lights on the top of the stop signs to raise awareness that it's now a 4-way stop instead of stoplights.
Sure.
So I know that is a possibility. So we can look at troubled areas and see where we can work that in.
This next question is interesting because I think we might be. It's not breaking news, but it's definitely interesting. Ask him about the new $20 million indoor sports complex that is going in near the bypass. How is the city going to be involved with the nonprofit called The Rock that is building it?
Okay.
Do you know about this?
The
$20 million, that's a big deal.
The individuals that are part of the ROC or part of the organization doing the ROC have approached us to discuss their ideas and such. And so as they continue to plan, we've kind of left it up to them. I mean, I know they're kind of saying the same way, okay, what can the city do, to help us out? I mean, if we look at infrastructure, depending on the site they've selected, if there's infrastructure needs, that we might be able to work on, since it would be a situation where maybe a development agreement that we've used in other situations, depending on the gap that they would need to fill. So a lot of it is going to stem from them continuing to get their numbers together. I know they've projected $20 million, but location and amenities and what they may need. I know we've been exchanging a few emails, or at least they've been in contact with the development department to see how the city might be able to help. And so as they get closer to fundraising efforts and specifics, we will see. But the quick, I guess, assistance to provide would be if they have infrastructure needs that we'd have to run out that way.
Okay, interesting. So we'll stay on top of that. I mean, that could be a huge thing for Kokomo. Love to see that. And maybe, do you know location? Are they thinking up by Championship Park?
I don't believe so. I mean, because it's ground that they either already have an offer on, or ground that belongs to a church with which they are partnering. So I believe it's down on the south end, closer to State Road 26.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, we'll stay on top of that. Cameron, that it was news to us. Yeah. So that was interesting. You've kind of talked about this, but Christopher on Facebook, any update on the new downtown hotel and conference center delayed to COVID? So I know we talk about it a little bit every week. Is there a new update this week? I know you're talking to a developer again. Things are moving.
Right. The preferred developer was the one that was originally part of the announcement about it being a project downtown and supported by not only city but county and Alliance by way of the CVB again. The developer is crunching more definite numbers and is supposed to get us information on what his name, kind of like answer the same answer as with the ROC, that they're looking at what their costs are and such, and then what they would need, and where the city and count, in this case, city, county, and CVB can assist them. So we're getting closer.
Okay.
Much closer than we've been.
Still early development, but still getting close. And I guess that's harder for people to hear because it's been an idea and then COVID happened. So yeah, that makes sense.
Now, almost.
Next question is by Nick on Facebook. I saw cameras were added on the trails, but we do not have any on the north side of 300 North going north. Also, still waiting on sidewalks along 300 North heading to the trail.
300 North headed to the trail.
Cameras, are these like security cameras?
Yes, we've got cameras on the light post along the trails. We're looking at those. I mean, those are a little more involved in location and getting the software to make sure they're connected. And so as Tory Rowe works through his budget and the amenities and things that he needs to do throughout all the parks, because the trail system is, in a sense, an extension of the parks and falls under his authority, if you will, as well as issue or the needs within his budget. So as we continue as he navigates through that, we'll continue to add as we need. And then as for the sidewalks along 300, I'm assuming they mean that there was that short stint, because there's the subdivision where the sidewalk kind of abruptly ends, where the developer stopped, and taking that all the way to Smith Road to then go across, or I guess Washington, not Smith, but across Washington and Apperson come together to catch up with the trail. So
got it. You have a great map in your head, by the way.
I get a lot of help. So that's
sometimes I have no idea where people are talking about, and you look up and you see the map and you know exactly where they're at.
So it's been discussed, been proposed, not immediately on the radar, because with the size of that intersection, we'd have to find a safe way to get across the intersection to begin with, the way that kind of all comes together, but is definitely on the radar.
Gotcha. Next question from Carl on Facebook. When are they being you, I think, when are they going to get rid of the bump out on Hoffer Street?
The bump out on Hoffer Street, like in front of the Humane Society, I assume?
He didn't specify. It's kind of a large street, Carl.
Oh,
More specifics would be great.
Well, there's that, like, I almost call it a parking median. So when you continue east off of Home Avenue and they've got the drive into the parking area to the Humane Society, and then Hoffer continues. I mean, there's that one, but I can't recall what. I mean, that intersection itself is a little tight. It's almost not as bad, but almost as bad as Jefferson and Washington. We're getting close to redesigning Jefferson and Washington and opening that back up.
That is tight there.
As we look at Hoffer, because there's going to be a need to do some improvements to Hoffer as well. We're not throwing medians down. We're not throwing bump outs on the Hoffer, but I'm assuming he's meaning up around the Humane Society. And so once we go from Jefferson to Washington and then look at that intersection when we do Hoffer, we'll take an assessment then and see how that can work into the development that the Humane Society has, because we still want folks to be safe going in and out of there as close as they were asked to develop their facility.
If Carl doesn't like the bump out, he'll probably be triggered by this idea, but that would be a great intersection for a roundabout. All different directions, stuff like that. I'm just saying, I'm a fan of roundabouts. I know a lot of people aren't because they're not used to them.
Yeah, you got
that could be
trail though.
The trail,
with the rail line.
Never mind then.
But you're right.
That would be interesting for the roundabout. Yeah. Carl's also saying we need something on the other side of town where the old Aldi is, something fun for adults to do so that they don't have to drive clear across town. Carl, sounds like you just became an entrepreneur. You should make something and put something in there that would be fun for adults to do so they don't have to drive clear across town.
Yeah, the We Care stores in there.
Well, he's not saying that. He's just saying that side of town where that building is. He's not saying that exact location. Yeah, which We Care is starting up. I see that.
So as we continue to look at 931, because we've been talking to NDOT about how we can work with them to kind of give that stretch of state road, whether they keep it or they relinquish it to us, to kind of pretty it up and make it a little more pedestrian friendly and such, and hopefully develop up there, because with like I said, across America, Menards, I mean, all the way up to Morgan, there's a lot of stuff going on. So we will work. When he said Aldi, I thought he was going to talk about a grocery store, and we're trying desperately to
North End grocery
get a
store.
North End grocery store.
Maybe that's what Carl could start.
Hey, awesome.
Love that. Next question is from Jenny on Facebook. When will all these bumps in the roads be paved?
The bumps in the road, I'm assuming where it's been milled along Washington and again around the northwest quadrant. We've been assured that they are to be done here in the next week or so before any additional digging or installation of gas lines are done. So if she's specifically talking about those areas, where
I'm not sure.
All up and down Washington.
You guys need to be more specific in these questions.
But yeah, if there's other bumps elsewhere, again, asphalt plant's still open. We're still resurfacing or filling potholes that may have surfaced. So call 456-7444 or even the street department 456-4030, I believe. Let us know where those areas are, and we can get on them.
But it's also fair, Jenny, to answer this question. Probably never will every street in Kokomo be without a bump. So just setting expectations there. You, in that video you guys did with the city, you named how many miles of streets does the city of Kokomo have? It was a ridiculous amount that sounds nuts unless you actually think about it.
Yes. What was it?
900 miles
in the county. Yeah.
900 miles of streets
29,000
within Howard County. But I mean, even the city, I forget, but it was a crazy number of streets, crazy number of miles of streets.
Yeah, almost 400 miles.
400 miles of streets.
300 and I think 390 something.
Yeah, it's a lot of streets. So I mean, all of them can't be perfect at the same time.
We're getting to them, though.
I will say, there's been a lot done.
Too. I think the alleys are considered, the alleys get beat to holy heck by our trash trucks and such that run through there. So,
Gotcha.
Okay.
Brett on Facebook. Good to see you back, Brett. It's been a few weeks. Is Kokomo pursuing opportunities like this? And the like this is a link. Okay. I'm guessing to talk about the chip makers to make, automotive chips. And he also wants to know what subsidies are being offered by Kokomo, City of Kokomo, to entice large investments by these companies. What are we doing to also to diversify the tax base for the Kokomo government? The future is in electric vehicles, which means Kokomo's tax base needs to be diversified by other large factories as well. That was a lot.
Yep. The issue of diversification has been talked about for a few decades, and we're getting closer to doing that. But it's almost diversification within the automotive industry. As he's mentioned, there's the move to electrification. Green Cubes is and Borg Warner are both doing very well here in the community. We're getting close to closing in on and getting set up an industrial park up on the north end across the street from Stellantis engine plant, which will hopefully entice some suppliers up there. As for what are we doing to try and entice those there, getting sites shovel ready. We've talked to the leadership at GM as well to say, hey, if you're needing to, in the mode of repurposing some of your plants on your footprint, let us know how the city can help. He mentioned manufacturing chips. Obviously we've got the fab plant there and what was rehabbed and used for ventilators. That's sitting and available as well. And again, we've not only reached out to them, but through Charlie Sparks with the Alliance, really put out feelers. To say, if you're willing and ready to come, let us know how we can help. So we work closely with the state Economic Development Corp as well, if they send site selectors our way. So unfortunately, it's, as we understand it, it's not as simple as opening up the building, sweeping off some things, turning on some lights, and manufacturing chips. Although that's what they used to do in there, there's going to be a major overhaul. A lot more involved than what they had to do to get the ventilators going in order to get the conditions in a manner that they can manufacture the chips. So if and when they're ready, we're ready, and we've let them know.
Love that. This next question gets interesting, so a little warning. James on Facebook wants to know, how much increase in business has his family's title and escrow business had since the county started telling businesses when they could be open and what they could sell? I feel like those are two very different.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Well, first of all, tell everyone the books of how businesses. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
did you bring the P&L sheet?
I stepped down or resigned temporarily, took a sabbatical, if you will, from my family's title company to take on the mayor's position full time. So I've got no real direct involvement with them. They have remained as busy as Metropolitan Title has been. The banks, and a lot of what they did during the pandemic were more individuals, residents refinancing their homes because they were out of work, doing that. And so the banks and mortgage companies were staying somewhat busy, but really I don't recall that there were a lot of businesses buying, selling, relocating, investing during the pandemic because, as he mentioned, they were closing or being forced to close at that time and then slowly reopening. So I guess long answer short, their business has remained as busy as their competition, Metropolitan Title, and really hasn't changed much since I took over as mayor or when the pandemic hit, but has followed the cyclical pattern of the housing market.
What a respectful answer to that question. He also had a follow-up, by the way.
Oh, good.
Which this is silly. He also wants to know how well Wyman Realty has done in that span of time and how much of that business overlaps. Do you have the P&L for Wyman as well?
I'm not sure. Yeah, no, I don't know how the Wyman Group, but I mean, fortunately, the real estate industry in Kokomo and Howard County has remained strong. If he's been watching the housing market, every company, I mean, houses have been staying on the market less than 30 days a lot of times, and there's only a handful available. And so with the number that have been in, I'm sure the Wyman Group has been, as busy as the Hardy Group, as Remax, as Tucker, as a lot of the others. And as for how much of that overlaps, again, not sure. I mean, fortunately, buyers and sellers are the ones that direct the business to either title company or a lot of times even the banks as well. And so the two local title companies and a few that may come in from out of town are at the mercy of the parties involved a lot of times. So sometimes the realtors don't actually direct it.
Once again, a respectful answer to not a respectful question. Next up is Anthony on Facebook. And this is actually, I've seen a lot of this. It's a great point. How about instituting a city ordinance making it legal to blow grass clippings in the road? City of Kokomo, surrounding areas, let alone the whole state, is not biker friendly. Right. Anthony on Facebook. If you guys don't know, grass clippings on a highway, a street, a motorcycle, or even honestly just a bicycle in general, that makes it very dangerous to ride those motorized vehicles. So he's saying get an ordinance you can't do that. They have to either blow it in the street and then get rid of it, or just not blow it in the street at all.
Yeah, I'd have to check. I'm thinking that there may be something on the books countywide to prevent folks from do that, but I would have to check to make sure. But I totally agree. I mean, you see it a lot of times. I mean, especially in the unincorporated areas of the county, where I mean, a lot of them, are mowing their the shoulders of the road or the edges of their fields and such, and if they've got don't get to it, for a few weeks or whatever, it gets a little higher and such. And so does become a safety hazard, but I'd have to check to make sure, but I'm almost positive there may be something already on the books countywide. If he sees it, by all means, he can call dispatch to contact either the Kokomo Police Department or Howard County Sheriff's Department to get them out to advise the individuals that they are creating a safety hazard.
Gotcha. Next question is from Tara on Facebook. Every evening between 10 p.m. and midnight, I see people walking along Goyer Road between Markland and Boulevard. These are typically people who are walking home from work. They may have a few grocery bags in their hands. Some are even pushing a stroller in the snow. There is no sidewalk and lighting is limited on Goyer Road. Other major streets in Kokomo do not have sidewalks, including Boulevard and Lincoln. In the past, there was an effort to make Kokomo a walkable city. How is pedestrian safety prioritized in this administration?
Goyer Road, design next year, installation in 23.
There you go.
Same with Berkeley between Markland and Sycamore, because we've got the work release center there, as well as both individuals from the jail or Kinsey Center that then are released. And I mean, so that's always been an issue as well. And as we want to increase the use of the soccer fields, we're going to be putting a walking path and some other things. We want folks to safely get down there. So a couple of those areas now. We're also looking at sidewalks potentially on the east side of 931 for the folks at Alto to get to, they're at the McDonald's, the Starbucks, that end as well. And so getting to them, it's, again, one of those things that, limited number of buckets, certain amount of funds, submit the projects to be considered for community crossing grants and even additional federal dollars that are now being made available. And so a lot of times design, approval, and implementation can take a couple years. So we have heard the issues, as she mentioned, for folks along Goyer Road, especially with Meijer and Walmart down the way, and the amount of housing through there, both subdivisions on either side and apartments. So that one is definitely forthcoming, as well as along Berkeley.
Love that. Next question is from Hanan on Facebook. When will Deaf and Ball unite with Home Avenue?
When will Deaf and Ball unite with Home Avenue?
Unite together.
Unite.
Avengers, unite.
Deaf and Ball unite with Home Avenue. Deaf and Ball tease into Home Avenue.
He's doing the map thing.
Right there at one of your favorite pizza places. Right, in that Deaf and Ball?
Pizza
That's
Co?
where Deaf and Ball used to be. It's the pizza company.
Pizza Co, yeah.
Or Pizza Co, yeah. I think that's where Deaf and Ball hits Home Avenue. So it teased there.
So I guess I don't know the question then.
Yeah. Maybe they want a roundabout there.
I think roundabout there would be great. Roundabouts everywhere.
So yeah,
that's why I would never be mayor.
Deaf and Ball sinks back and crosses the trail right there at Pizza Co. and hits Home Avenue, tees into it. So there's not really a curve to be able to kind of merge and go in. But
sure. Okay. Next question and the last question, and honestly a really thoughtful question.
Oh, good.
This is nice. It's not about potholes or sidewalks or Chick-fil-A's or why did they think it'd be like that?
It's about Christmas.
No, it's not about Christmas. Okay. She says, and she wrote this question, I think she probably thought she wrote this after we filmed. So I know I'm late, but how are you doing? Like really, How are you holding up? How do you feel? Has your perspective of the job changed? What's challenged you and why? I think it's important to remember he's a person who goes to work every day, living in the same time at events that we're all trudging through. It was Caitlin on Facebook.
Thank you, Caitlin. That was very nice.
It was very sweet. Did you expect a not sweet, how I set that up, by the way? Did you expect like the Drew Larson sarcasm to come through? Because it's very sweet. It's very sweet.
No,
what a Christmas spirit thing to ask.
Thoughtful. Yeah, I mean that's a nice lead.
Not a Thanksgiving spirit, but a Christmas spirit.
But no, thank you, Caitlin. I'm doing well. I mean, there had already been rumblings through the summer that I wasn't running again, so I don't know how that got out or whatever. But I very much plan on running for a second term. And will do so if God and taxpayer willing, I get the wonderful opportunity. But when people ask me that, and I'm not saying it only because we're on the podcast or because it's what they want to hear, but I legitimately love going to work every day. I mean, yes, there's the typical, BS and, and then some of the complaints and stuff, but it's what I signed on for. I mean, I love trying to assist others and to empower our departments. I've got an amazing team of people at every level, from the department heads all the way down to the guys and gals on the streets and in the sewers. I mean, we have an amazing team of individuals in every aspect. I'm doing the best I can to try and find time to make for myself. My wife actually seems like she's working more than I am during the week sometimes, but we try to get intentional with that. Same way with the couple of my boys that are still at home, but yeah, I'm maintaining. I'm enjoying it. I feel very blessed still, just as blessed now as I did on that election night before I was able to then take office. And I mean, hearing the positive feedback and those asking to make sure that I'm okay makes the job even more worthwhile to know that folks are thinking about me. And then really so many people as well. I don't know how many people stop and say, hey, I know it's got to be tough. I'm praying for you and your team. I'm praying. I mean, so being lifted up in prayer too is wonderful. So thank you for that question, Caitlin. I'm doing great. Yeah, it's got its moments, but regardless of the moments, I love the wonderful opportunity I've been given.
Those hard moments, the stressful moments, like when you go home, has there ever been a moment of like, what did I get myself into? And I want to note, you took office before 2020. And I remember you and I talked, I think during the quarantine, I'm like, bet you didn't think you signed up for this. But have there been those hard days where you go home and you're like, geez, can I do, like, am I the guy for this, or things like that?
I do that all the time, and not just because I'm like, oh, I can't believe, this isn't what I signed on for. I mean, she threw in there, what are the challenges and stuff. I mean, that's where I guess some of the stress comes, is that, I'm handed a situation, or I see a situation, or hear people talk about, the safety of a sidewalk, of a street, of our parks, of a trail or something. And it's like, I mean, that's where the frustration is, like, why can't it be just as easy to throw some asphalt down and, make it better, or put up a stoplight or a street light,
sure.
and, make things better. It's like, where do you start? Where do you go? And
the process,
how can we get it covered? Yeah. I mean, so yeah, there's plenty of nights, I get home and just, kind of sit and go, take a breath, and like, why couldn't why couldn't we have come up with a better solution to that, or a quicker solution for that, and and then just regroup and try to attack it the next day.
Sure. I mean, and probably everybody has days like
sure.
that,
Yeah.
And Caitlin
I tell
said
people,
that in the comment.
people are like, oh, Mary, I'm just a guy with a title.
Yeah.
So
I like that. Going back to Valley of Grace, Darcy and Joey, he just kept saying, like, he's the face of it, right? He's really the person that's been pushing it out, but he's like, I'm just in the boat. Here we go.
Yep.
Yeah, he's just in the boat, moving along with it. Awesome. So thank you for those questions week. Great questions this week. If you have a question for the mayor and you want to be featured on the Lexi's Drink Bar and Ask the Mayor segment, just make sure you leave them in a comment below, or like I always say, we put out some sort of post on our Facebook and our Instagram pages asking for questions on Monday, because normally the typical week we film this show on Monday. So you guys can leave those comments below, and if it's a great question, maybe you'll end up on the show.
Awesome.
So let's do this quick. I know it's been a longer episode. We had a lot of questions today. Movies with the mayor, planes, trains, and automobiles. And here's what I'll say.
Thanksgiving movies we could come up with. Here's
what I'll say. How could a movie go wrong with Steve Martin and John Kennedy?
Like, you can't.
They are.
I know.
It's perfect.
Timeless, yeah.
Like, it's just them together. And it's really funny, too, because seeing this movie, like, they're all trying to get home, right, for the holiday, and they are two very different people stuck together. It weirdly reminded me of Home Alone 2, I believe so, where John Kennedy was also in that movie. And doesn't... No? Am I getting the wrong person? In Planes, Trains, and Automobiles?
Yeah, but he wasn't in Home Alone 2. I don't think, because that was the one where he's in New York.
Okay, maybe it was Home Alone 1 then? Or 3, maybe. There's some Home Alone where the mom is trying to get home, and she's like stuck in a van, and like there's some traveling band.
Yes.
I'm not making this up.
First one.
It is the first one. It was John Kennedy, right?
He's the polka band.
Kennedy, sorry. Candy, sorry.
Yeah, John Candy.
No,
yeah.
I'm like, I knew I'm not making that up. No, but like those two things, I'm like, how funny. Like, they're
It was the polka band. Yes.
I knew I wasn't making that up. What if I was? It was some dream I had. But no, like that made me laugh. That scene, and then there's like this movie together, like very similar things, which was kind of funny. No, but Steve Martin, just an icon. I miss him. I feel like he hasn't been in, I think he may be like fully retired now or something like that. I haven't seen him in anything
he and
new.
Martin Short, I forget which streaming series, either Netflix or Hulu or something, but he and Martin Short are in, I mean, I know they did their comedy show, but they're in a movie that was just out, or has just been recently released, that they're back together.
I love Steve Martin, like for forever. He's just been that actor who's just an icon to me. But if you haven't seen the movie, like IMDb, they quickly summarize it. A Chicago advertising man, which I like that, a little Mad Men going on. Chicago advertising man struggles to travel home from New York for Thanksgiving with the lovable oaf of a shower curtain ring salesman as his only companion. So, I mean, classic holiday movie.
You're going the wrong way. How do they know where we're going?
Classic holiday movie. It's like this. I feel like there's been 700 movies with this plot.
Yeah.
Like we're trying to get home for the holidays.
Exactly.
There's so many issues going on. There was a Jonathan Taylor Thomas movie back in the day. I remember that very same plot. I'll Be Home for Christmas. I think that's what it's called. But it was, I mean, just classic. But everything that could go wrong did go wrong.
Yep.
Similar to that scene in Home Alone where like she had to hitch a ride with this polka band because the flights were canceled and things like that. So, I mean, but no, great movie. It's a great holiday movie. I don't know about Thanksgiving. Sure.
Tearjerker at the end.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, great movie though, and I will say, like, you recommend a lot of older movies. That one holds up because those two actors are such a great duo together. Yep. It was so funny. Highly enjoyed it. Cool. So what's the next movie?
Well, it's Veterans Day this week, and so I figured I'd go with a war movie. And actually, this is one that I had always told myself I wanted to see, but I didn't know. It's almost, in my opinion, I mean, watching the previews of it, were you ever, do you know Hogan's Heroes, the TV show?
I've heard of it, yeah.
Okay, well, to me, this is almost like the Hogan's Heroes movie, or where Hogan's Heroes got his inspiration. It's The Great Escape with Steve McQueen, 1963. So the World War II prisoner of war camp, and I mean it's just, you know, all these Americans trying to escape from the prisoner of war camp and such, and a lot of their antics, again, that I saw in the preview, looked like a lot of that had inspired the Hogan's Heroes series.
Got it.
So it's got Steve McQueen, James Gardner. I think Charles Bronson. I mean, so it's very much almost like the Dirty Dozen type of feel too, with Lee Marvin and such. But it just looks good. I've always wanted to, so I'm going to make myself watch it.
Love it. That's the pick. Then we'll watch that. If you want to watch along with us, we'll talk about it next week. You got a dad joke for us?
One of the greatest escape artists was Houdini, but do you know what you call a dog magician?
You know, I've never thought about that. What do you call a dog magician?
A labracadabra.
It's a tough one to say.
Labracadabrador.
Ah, there it is. Wah, 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 wah.
Easier said than done.
Hey, everybody, thank you for watching this episode of the Mayor Tyler Moore Show here on the Kokomo Post. My name is Drew Larison. Like I said before, if you have any questions for the mayor for that Lexi's Drink Bar and Ask the Mayor segment, leave them in a comment below, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
See you, Kokomo.